In 2016, we all accompanied the legendary Kobe Bryant with sadness and awe, his new path not connected with basketball. At the time, he announced his retirement but still playing. In 2015, the world first saw his letter to basketball, touching and so sincere that an ignorant person at first may well regard it as a message to any other person. But no. And 3 years later, in 2018, this text served as the script for the film, and more specifically for the cartoon, for which Kobe would subsequently receive an Oscar. But on the night, the Mamba was awarded a prize that many film-related lovers wanted. His holiday was still a little darkened, a movement called Me Too and a dark story that surfaced 15 years later. Hello, basketball players. Today we're looking at the dark side of a player who is being compared for a reason to Michael Jordan and the embodiment of modern basketball. Okay, first of all, I suggest we immerse ourselves in the history of Kobe Bryant from afar. By the way, I will immediately warn you that the history of Kobe and Shaquille relationship you will not see here. Yes, his character will certainly be discussed, because without it is simply impossible. But it is within the team history we will not touch today, because they are worth at least a separate issue. And if you put them in this one today, it will stretch so 40 minutes, or even an hour. In general, if you want to look at them, write about it in the comments. So I know you're interested, and I'll do the Kobe and team story for you in the next issue. Now let's go to Bryant himself. Let's start with why Kobe and the word dark side of NBA are so suited to each other. Well, first of all, character and his attitude towards basketball. For people who are not familiar with his biography, it may well be a revelation that the Mamba is a real villain. Yes, but I shouldn't go make a dislike, because Kobe is more of a villain like the present Vienna. What was his crime? If you try to soften and smooth the edges, then completely disregard the partners. In Kobe's life, always in the first place was basketball. If someone on the team does not share his manic love for basketball, hold up, because Bryant is going to rain all his snake power on you, either to smear and force you off the team or wipe your snot and drool. Grit your teeth and start playing the way Kobe wants. This story is very similar to the stories associated, for example, with Michael Jordan, and partly Bryant was, only in a more hypertrophic way. Don't believe it? Here's a couple stories. 1998, All-Star Game. Karl Malone goes out to put up a barrier for young Kobe to walk past Jordan without any effort. But Kobe dismisses such a handout and says that he knows everything and will do it himself. If anything, imagine that you are sending the existing MP away with your barriers and you are only 19. And then you'll understand why Karl will be so hurt. Summer of '98, Comrade Magic Johnson organizes a charity match to which he invites Kobe. But he simply does not care about the status of the game. It's basketball, which is why he's making a big deal about Fernie Hardaway, trying to prove to everyone that there can only be one lion in the pride. So Hardaway was pissed, but all this was in vain. Anyway, he was later punished by a young upstart in the regular. Year 2002, Rucker Park. Having already won 3 championship rings, he in no way hesitated to come to the legendary place for street basketball players and tear up there. From the stories of many Los Angeles players, it is revealed that as soon as the club signed a newcomer, Bryant immediately dragged him to the gym and played him one-on-one in public. Do you know why? Right, in order to dip like a kitten into the tray of the beginner so that he understands who is the father and whose slippers should not be touched. Year 2014, training with the team. As Bryant walks away from the locker room, he shouts to the team manager's general that these bums don't do shit for me. Again, we don't forget that everyone hears it. And the team, and the general manager, and the coach. Of course, you can further list for a long time, but I think the essence of the character is clear. Being around Kobe in the same team is an honor, no doubt for any basketball player. But playing with Kobe is a different matter entirely. So when LeBron recently posted about what would have happened to Los Angeles if they were both playing for the club right now, my personal opinion would have been very unpleasant for James. From Kobe, everything was screaming, from superstars to the most invisible and gray newcomers. So Bryant is really not the best option if you want to stay a star and still give yourself to the game, not completely. Entering the league in 1995, Bryant's story began to gain popularity from the start. First, the choice. A lot has been said about that. There was a Boston that he did pre-RAF training with, but didn't risk taking a 17-year-old kid. Even though in the state of Pennsylvania, he was the best overall point scorer in his career, with 2883. He could have been chosen by Hornets, but he was exchanged. Lakers fans called him too weak an asset for the team. He could have been drafted by the Clippers, but he wasn't drafted because he was 17. And the bottom line is we know Los Angeles. And now he's a legend. After joining the league, he became a star almost instantly. Yes, he was called an upstart. He was called a gifted guy with a very troubled character and other flattering words. But he did not care. There was nothing in his life except basketball. But until a certain point, November of '99, when Bryant's greatest love was Vanessa Urbieta Cornejo. She is a 17-year-old girl who will later become Kobe's wife and mother of his children. Their relationship developed in a stormy, swift, and delightful way. Perhaps all except the Mamba parents, because they were unhappy with the Mexican origin of the young lady, and they thought their 20-year-old son was in too much of a rush to date a 17-year-old girl. Someone's going to. But with his wife, let's just keep talking about basketball. I agree, but we can't do anything without that, since there are two cases related to this. The first is again an indicator of the character of the guy who did not talk to his parents for 2 years, and they missed the 2001 final where their son first won the ring. And the second, it's Karl Malone. Remember, I told you at the beginning that he was very upset with Kobe about the whole Shield thing. So, Kobe Bryant was already in a close relationship with Vanessa. And Malone, not shy of anything at all, openly and brazenly hit on the Mamba's wife. The story ended in a little scandal. Vanessa told Karl's wife about it. But underneath all this fun and interesting story is the dark year of 2003, and Bryant's act, which can come to this day. What happened then? I remember the second player who was so openly accused of sexual harassment and rape. The first of these was Michael Beasley. Overall, on June 30, 2003, at a hotel in Colorado, Bryant's life could have really gone wrong. The thing is that on that day, Kobe committed rape. Before the start of the season, the Star Lakers suddenly arrested and taken to the police. How will it be known later on suspicion of unlawful imprisonment and rape? Unexpected, yes? The case against a young star was brought by a certain Caitlin Faber, a 19-year-old girl who worked at this very hotel. How the case unfolded. In short, Kobe lured the girl to his room under the pretext of showing the hotel. Using physical force and periodically switching to choking tricks, he took and forced a 19-year-old female employee to have sex. It all comes from her testimony. She tried to run away. She tried to run away. She tried to scream. She tried to escape. But it was of little use, especially when it's a case like this where an athlete comes after you, and the size of it. Initially frightened by the reaction of his wife, the public, and the general character of the case, Kobe denied all the charges against him, saying it's a made-up story. It's not true, and he doesn't know who Caitlin Faber is. However, a few days later, when the case was submitted to the court, and Caitlin herself went for a medical examination, Kobe became not up for jokes and lied. Then, on July 6, 2003, Bryant goes to the police with grateful testimony and the story that the sexual intercourse did take place, but without rape. It was all consensual. And then, of course, it happened. The trial was fully started. Kobe loses sponsorship contracts with Nike, McDonald's, and Nutella. An investigation reveals that the girl had 2 sexual acts that day. But the blood on Bryant's t-shirt and the bruising on his face, the girl's leading to Kobe's guilt after all. For the record, under Colorado law, he was looking at 20 years to life if all these charges were proven. But after almost a year of litigation, for which the Mamba continued to play as he was released on bail of $25,000 on September 1, 2004, Caitlin withdrew her rape claim and for wrongful confinement with severe bodily harm, and the case goes to civil court. Why did this happen? Clearly, the parties were able to agree outside the court. And secondly, the girl's condition was that Kobe would publicly apologize to her. thus admitting both the fact of the affair and his not very good side. And thirdly, already officially pay moral damages. This amount is still kept in the strictest secret, but of those who were close to the case, the amount is from $2.5 to $3 million. This is official, and how much was paid remains a mystery, which of all this follows the outcome. First, Kobe could not stay here without Shackle, as he told the police about the fact that the diesel engine allegedly did the same to the girls. But they say for silence, either paid them heavily in cash or bought cars with expensive jewelry. Shaquille in return could only laugh and no more. And Kobe himself for the fact that his wife not only forgave, but also sat with him at the press conference, acting as a support, where the journalists literally analyzed it with questions, gave her a ring for $4 million. Secondly, the girl herself. As it turned out, she wasn't so easy later either since the evidence that the girl had 2 sexual encounters on that day suggests that she is a difficult person. Second, an addition such as the Associated Press later reported that shortly before the Kobe incident, Catlin twice attempted suicide. But it didn't work out. Which conclusion can we draw? Kobe clearly remembered for a long time what a police station, court, and how close he was to ruining not only his career but his life. The good things happened as they did, and eventually they did. History was soon forgotten. Bryant himself returned to his beloved business and became a decent family man. What about his character? This was perhaps the only thing that remained unchanged. Bryant continued to behave arrogantly, remain selfish on the court, except maybe when he played at the Olympics. There was a completely different game, team, and without the story that Kobe did not pass to someone. In other cases, he followed only one: be the best at everything. To be just like Michael and even better. As far as we can tell today, he did a great job. But then again, back in the not-so-distant past in his Oscar-winning cartoon, the scandal that erupted back in 2003 has found new life. If not new life, at least a footprint in the history of Kobe Bryant is from that sure. The thing is, people at Me Too didn't like the fact that Kobe was so easy to get the prize the first time. If anything, the association is aimed at combating sexual harassment in the workplace and is widespread mainly in 2017. When this hashtag spread on Twitter, indicating that this problem is acute and that it should be talked about loudly and openly. Kobe, with such a fucking cool background, also fell into the hot hands of activists. It ended in nothing. Things slowly settled down. But a petition put forward on change. Org for Bryant Oscar's sex crime claim has garnered 17,000 signatures. And this is not so little for the public response. In conclusion, I want to say that I personally have mad respect for Kobe as a player. And I don't really care what happened back in 2003. Yes, there have been and will be each of the league players. Maybe not as bright as the data, but still. Since I personally could not know Bryant, it is difficult to judge his character. Even though he was, according to many, selfish, ill-treated his teammates and others. In the meantime, put your best in legendary basketball like. If you agree with me, that Bryant is a legend of modern basketball. And thanks for watching this issue to the end. Thanks for watching